Welcome to episode 12 of Play Some D with your host. Yep, you got it. Me, Coach D. So this week, I mentioned at the end of last episode was the NFL draft. I mentioned that it would probably be more than likely that the beginning first quarter of this episode would be the NFL draft. And not gonna let you down. Yes, you guessed it. We're talking about the NFL draft in the first quarter here. But let me back up a little bit. Just talk a little bit about Play Some D. It is a 4-topic weekly episode where I break those 4 topics up in 4 quarters. 4 quarters, those 4 topics could be anything ranging from sports, music, entertainment, politics, random fun things, interesting stories. I try to make it, I would like for it to mostly be current events, but it could be something that just popped up in my head. It is really, the best way to put it is it's random. I like it like that. And as really the staple of the podcast episode is that, variety is the spice of life. You gotta keep it fresh, switch it up. So it's essentially a variety episodal series or whatever podcast. Doesn't really need a title, but the goal is for it to be weekly. It's pretty much been that way. So if you're interested, please like the video, please subscribe, and there'll be more where these have came from and this has come from, whatever. So this week I'll discuss, like I said, the NFL draft. Last week I kind of talked about the quarterback craze and how that has been just mind-blowing to me. So I'll just go over like the first round and then some of the team grades that just interest me. I'll have I'll briefly talk about the census and just how that affects it just caught my eye and it was a bit interesting. I'll speak on DJ Khaled's latest release. So I'll kind of do like my first, well, not kind of, but I'll do basically my first music review, album review on Play Some D. So talk about Khaled Khaled, and we'll talk about a feel-good story out of Huntington Beach, California, where a family that was taken from their beachfront property, essentially they're giving it back to the descendants. So just a feel-good story that's been kind of making its rounds, and I just thought it was cool to talk about. But without further ado, let me jump into it because I'm not sure how long I'll run with this NFL draft thing. Hopefully not too long, but for the first quarter, let me throw it up on the board. So yeah, the 2021 NFL draft took place in Cleveland, Ohio, my hometown. It looked like everybody was enjoying themselves. It looked like everybody had a good, a grand old time, shall I say. So Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, I think, were the consensus number 1, number 2 pick. Number 3 became interesting, at least for me, just thinking about it. Aaron Rodgers announced that was Thursday that he wanted to be traded from the Green Bay Packers. So I think if the 49ers do make a move or try to make a move, it would involve that 3rd pick or somebody like Trey Lance. I don't think Green Bay wanted a Fields or Mac Jones. I think Trey Lance would be the guy that would be like the piece in moving that right there, just depending on how they feel about Jordan Love and things of that nature. But having, I guess, 2 quarterbacks, young quarterbacks with potential, they can figure that out. But so Trey Lance then made a little more sense, and even just kind of putting them in the wings and letting Jimmy Garoppolo go. That's cool for the Niners. Kyle Pitts at 4 was interesting. I don't know what I don't know what a tight end has to do. I don't know what the productivity looks like. I don't know. He's got to show out. I don't know how when Atlanta needs so much, especially on the defensive end, they have playmakers. I mean, I feel like they have some guys. I don't know if quarterback is the way to go. I just think Atlanta at 4, what I probably would have did was try to get out of it, and they might have, and they couldn't because I guess you're getting skill position guys, or you're essentially taking Justin Fields or Mac Jones. Might want to move up that far, but Kyle Pitts, the productivity guy, that's just something for kind of the long run. Number 5, I thought the Bengals should have went O-line, but they did take a playmaker for Joe. And you can have all the weapons on the outside and the best running backs, but if nobody can block for him or get to the second level, things of that nature, none of that playmaking will matter, especially in that division where the pass rushers are coming fast and furious. And I'm sure the Bengals will probably have a tough schedule, but most people have some form. Most good teams have some form of a pass rusher. A couple pass rushers, so you don't have nobody to block for your franchise quarterback. I don't know what Jamar Chase is supposed to do there. 6 at Miami, Waddle. I just don't know what the value is for Jalen Waddle there. I think that's a little bit high, but they want to get. I suppose they want to get to a familiar target and then just have somebody maybe possibly a little more reliable. Devontae Parker get injured a lot. Preston Williams get injured a lot, but Jalen was injured, coming off an injury, so it'll just be interesting there. Detroit needs a bunch of help. Never mad at tackles. Carolina got J.C. Horn, which was smart. Denver got Patrick Surtain, which was smart, which then made the Cowboys move up out of 10. They traded with Philly because I guess the Giants at 11 were like, it looks like they was probably punking Philly, saying they would take Devontae. So Philly was like, no, we want our guy. So they moved up and got him. Chicago got up and picked Justin Fields at 11, which was aggressive and good for Chicago. For Justin Fields, I don't know. That franchise is just weird at that quarterback position. So that was one place that Rob, being an Ohio State fan, didn't really want him to go. But really, realistically, with that defense, if he does a good job of managing the game, running the offense, and making just the right throws, because he does have a couple playmakers on that offense that they can move the ball with. So it may work out in his favor, but Dallas taking Micah Parsons, it looked like they just took the best available defensive players. Not totally mad at that, but they need help in the secondary. But maybe Micah could just be all around solid defensive player for them, and then I guess in the long run it does work out for him. Rashawn Slater went to Chargers, smart. Jets went and got a guard, Veer Tucker. Mac Jones at 15. I don't really have too much to say about Mac. I just don't think he'll be good. I don't think the Patriots, I mean, I guess if anybody could get the most out of him, it'll be Bill. So we'll see what happens there. Arizona just went and got best available. It's like best available and what their needs were. With Zaven Collins from Tulsa. A lot of people were iffy with the Las Vegas pick. If this was your guy, if Alex Leatherwood was your guy, no need to wait to the second round. Somebody could have took him or whatever. If you want to tackle, once again, I'll repeat this until I'm blue in the face. If I'm never mad at a tackle, go and get your guy. It's not a reach. When you're in a team like this, you get your guy. If you feel like he's the best available, just grab him. Miami got Jalen Phillips. It looked like consensus he was the number 1 pass rusher. So I'm assuming if that's consensus, I understand it, but I hope just Miami did their full out homework on that. That is the local kid. He played at Miami, Florida, so that may have took into it. But I just thought there were other pass rushers that probably could have fell there. But it's really just taking the person out, once again, that you thought fit and has the most potential and get better and things of that nature. Washington gets a little more grimy on defense, which I'm not mad at all. The Giants taking a receiver was just that was probably the biggest baffling one for me. They have a bunch of receivers, they have a bunch of guys on the outside, and maybe they just want more for Daniel Jones to throw it to. The Colts got better, added to their defense, which is nice. Titans as well. Minnesota getting a tackle. I feel like Pittsburgh probably got the steal with Najee Harris. Maybe not a steal, but they got like the best player at that position for what they needed. I don't know if other teams could have picked up Najee, but letting them fall to the Steelers, I think that's probably the biggest thing, is letting that guy fall to the Steelers is it's just crazy to me. Jacksonville taking ETN was a bit surprising to me with James Robinson, but it looks like Urban Meyer just wanted to take the best available player he saw on offense. Makes sense. Browns got a really good pick with Greg Newsome. Thought the Baltimore got a really good pick with Rashad Bateman. And then New Orleans, Green Bay were maybe New Orleans needs another pass rusher. I don't really know. I might have went skill position, but Green Bay, like, they got a special teams guy. Buffalo needed a pass rusher. They did that. Baltimore went and got a pass rusher. Their pass rushers always seem to work out. And then so did Tampa Bay edge rusher. And then just kind of to go over a couple of teams that NFL.com graded. They gave Cardinals a B+. Looks like they got some people they needed. They gave Atlanta A+. And I don't know how you give them an A+. They got that one receiver at the end. They got safety, cornerback. They did go defense mostly. Looks like they got more defensive players, but they need some of those guys to work out. But it looks like they filled some positions they needed. I just don't know how it works in those first couple picks. Those first couple picks will turn out to be what really, really matters. They did get Richie Grant at safety. Atlanta could be good. They gave Baltimore A. They did get 2 receivers, which really, in my eyes, is what matters. Lamar Jackson needs some guys to throw it to. He has a tight end. He's a really good tight end, but he needs some guys to throw it to. They did lose a lineman, so they got a guard that they lost. I think they're arguably their best lineman. Buffalo got 2 pass rushers. That's all needed to see to start. Their first 2 picks was 2 DNs. They couldn't rush the passer for nothing. Last year, Carolina got a slew of guys. I thought they had 11 or 12 picks, I think, if I count it. So I think they did good. Chicago did all right. The Bengals looked like they did end up taking 2 tackles. They got a center. So they got some linemen. For me, I probably would have tried to get 4 linemen and just hope to worked out. But that's that. Browns did a really good job. Denver looked like they did a decent job as well. The Lions need a bunch of help, so literally at every single position, so it didn't really matter. They gave Green Bay A, but they only got 1 receiver, so if Aaron Rodgers does return back, I just don't think that's enough. You need some guys that he can sling it to and have options. I mean, he does have a couple guys, but you never know with injuries and things like that. He just doesn't seem like he gets enough help. But yeah, Houston Texans, they got a C. They did do the one thing they needed to do, is make sure something happens with Deshaun Watkins. They have a quarterback, and they did that. Looks like the Colts did all right. The Chiefs, they gave it A-2. The Chiefs just really need a bunch of backup guys. They need solid character guys that can come in there and be ready to play if something was to happen. So they always give the Raiders some grief. They got to be here, but they got the tackle. They got linebacker, DN. Looks like they got all the positions. In my eyes, that they need 2 safeties, a corner, a linebacker, DN, a tackle in the center. That looks really good to me. It's just if those guys work out. Chargers and Rams look like Rams just needed guys. Chargers just needed guys, and they just got to keep them healthy. Both of those teams, that's the main thing. Miami, I'm iffy on all that because I think all of their players are just kind of all over the place. Minnesota got the interesting pickup with Kellen Mond. He went 66, which was third round, second pick in the third round. It's an interesting pick. I think he can be really good. That was my argument last week with quarterback craze. You can fall back and get quarterbacks. Patriots, I'm not gonna question what Bill Belichick did here. They gave New Orleans a B minus. Once they're one of those teams too that just needed guys, in my opinion. Giants, they gave them an A, but I don't think this is A worthy. They gave the Jets a B, and it's really just the Jets just need a bunch of players, and you just got to figure out, kind of like Detroit, is you got to hope some of them hit. I mean, anybody you draft, they need it, so you just got to hope they hit. Eagles, kind of the same way, especially on certain positions, skill positions, line. Carson Wentz got sacked so much, and they only got one lineman. I don't know what that means. Pittsburgh, Seattle only had 3 picks. San Francisco did all right. Tampa Bay they just needed to fill in the spots. Overall, I do think the winners was probably like the Bears. I think the Bears did a good job. I think the Browns did a good job. Carolina just having all those picks, I think it's a good job. There's a couple winners, and obviously there's a couple head scratchers. But at the end of the day, the NFL draft is about evaluating the talent that evaluating that talent, and then getting the right players for your coaching staff that you can develop and make better. But NFL draft seemed on teams was just a little more locked in than usual with picking picks and getting their guys. And I say outside of that craze at the beginning, it seemed like everybody was very, very particular with making sure they got good players. But then I think it was a number of good players in the draft this year. But as I said, so long-winded the NFL draft is so captivating. It's one of the bigger events, and I can go on all day. So let me get over to the second quarter with just a real quick feel good story. It's Bruce's Beach out in California, out in Manhattan Beach. It was a property that was purchased by a black family in 1912. And they got it for about $1,200. They had it for about 12 years, and pretty much through that whole time, they were harassed by white residents and the Ku Klux Klan, and then they were essentially paid $14,000 for the land, which is now valued at $75 million. It was claimed by the city. It was through eminent domain. By the city. It's just a bit of like sweet and sour, because just to think that family never gets that bad, or the family, the descendants, they're working on getting that property back to them, but the actual owners that purchased it only got to enjoy it for 12 years, but really they didn't really get to enjoy it. They were harassed, and it is a story of a bit of righting the wrongs, but it's just a little bittersweet, actually, because you just think about those people, like they had lives, and they came out here, got a good, or whatever, they saved their money and did what they had to do to get some prime real estate, and it was just essentially bullied from them. That's and you couldn't do anything about it, just in broad daylight, right in front of everybody, the law, America, California. But California does have a brutal racist past, which is which is interesting to hear and to talk about, because you would think like, oh, California, like, it's not like that, but America is what America was birthed on, so it's kind of inevitable that one of the prized lands of America would have been full of brutality and bullying and killings and all of that. But it doesn't say exactly. Well, I do think there is Anthony Bruce, the great grandson of Charles and Wilma. Yeah, so it looks like they're identifying the family members that should get it, and then kind of deciding what they'll do with it. So it'll be I mean, the 60-minute story, and I think at the end of the day too it sets to step. I guess that's the best way to put it. Just like the George Floyd trial and all the other things that kind of move forward, the steps they get taken. I'm a little cynical with it because I think there'll be slow steps, but at least it's a step. So it's like this happens here, then maybe somebody else gets a little redemption later on. Maybe it does start to right the wrongs of the past, and some people are able to capitalize on what should be theirs, what should rightfully be theirs, and things of that nature. So hopefully this sets a precedent moving forward for other situations that, I mean, there's a bunch. Like eminent domain was used to take Japanese land, Latino, like this process or processes, different manipulations of the law, and I guess is the word on my mind, is bullying taken by the people in power. It happened more often than not. It happened more than it should have. I won't say more often than not. That's probably inaccurate. But even if it happened one more time, that's one more time too many. So hopefully this will put into motion some people reclaiming instances that's rightfully theirs, things of that nature. But really, Bruce's Beach was just a story that I've heard. I've listened to it a few different times, and it just it's a nice story, and it's nice to hear that California, which sets some standards for a lot of different things, can definitely lead to some good stuff here. Just that's from the 60-minute article. I really don't want to read. I kind of just wanted to talk. I wanted to. It's another article I had here that had a little more stuff. But yeah, it was like a resort. You could vacation at cafes, dance halls, changing rooms, and then they like put laws in place that you couldn't change. In the it was just all kind of different things. It's wanted to see if I could. Yeah, so this was the one of the things I was looking at. See if I can pull up the information I had seen. But yeah, I mean, it's a part. It said it's yeah, this was. It also includes, it's a push for California, which also includes reforming the criminal justice system and creating a pathway for reparation payments to descendants of slaves. So it's a bill that like I said is moving forward things that could help a lot more, or more people that could possibly be in the same situation. Once again, I don't want to say a lot more. Probably not fair to say that at all, but still good story for second quarter. Let me hop, skip, and jump through halftime and get on to the third quarter, which is the census. And the census was just interesting because the census is, to me, I feel like should be a bigger deal. And I think my biggest gripe with the census is it being every 10 years. But I do think that's all based on like political jargon and whatnot. So just in terms of what happened with the census for the electoral college changes, California lost elect, electoral college vote. Texas got two. Florida got one. North Carolina got one. Montana got one. Oregon got one. Colorado got one. Illinois -1. Michigan -1. Ohio -1. Virginia -1. PA -1. And New York -1. So technically, electoral college was based on the last voting cycle. The red states gained. They got it. They got a gain as far as a plus. It is pretty marginal, but it's still a gain. They also gained on the House of Representative seats. With now, I think the last I think the report is that it's about I think Democrats have like a two seat lead or something like that. It's tight. It's closer. But what I did find a little bit interesting was that the impact of the census since 1970, so in the last 50 years, the migration from the Northeast to the South and the West, because California has added 9 electorals, Arizona 5, Texas 14, Florida 13, Georgia 4, and then the minuses is -13 in New York, which is pretty large. 8 in PA and Ohio, -8, -6 in Michigan, and -6 in Illinois. That's just a lot. So that's that shift of people from the Northeast, and understand it was like super cold up there. So you probably want to get to warmer weather. People are starting to get probably a little more logical with that, and then understanding that the jobs are a little bit of everywhere. But now after COVID and whatnot, the whole job situation, people move and live, is going to scramble it up again, which also gives my thought on like the census happening every 10 years. It's obviously politically based because it's two parties and they have to organize, plan, and plot to get their votes from their area. So you having stuff switch up on you so often, so fast, will probably cause issues for them. So that's probably politically why it doesn't happen, but it should, because people are going to, in 10 years, the amount of people that can move out of a city, a state, could be substantial. And that changes like government funding, that changes, electoral votes and things of that nature, obviously. So I think the census should be updated, revised, or something more often than 10 years. I think 10 years is just so much time in today's world. Like, we shift and move around way too much, and the census needs to, the count of human beings needs to be more accurate, I think, more often. So I do think one thing that changes that. First, I did want to. So when places grow or shrink, the issues that drive the national conversation has changed, and as the last few years have clearly shown, the nation's two major political parties are always changing. So they're always changing, but they want to keep what they can control the same. So it says that the clear political, cultural, and economic trends that analysts use to examine the census numbers of 2021 may look different in 2030. So that's so clear that you would, in order for something to change, you would need something essentially like more political parties, which is what I have been saying for a while. We need more competition. There just can't be two parties yelling and screaming at each other and kind of deciding essentially how things play out for 300 million Americans. I think it's something a bit flawed about that, because when it all started, it was way less people, and they were representing a much smaller amount of people. I think it was like I don't know, 50. I was something. I heard one of the experts talking about exactly how much it was when it first started compared to now, where you're representing, hundreds of thousands. Representatives are representing 100,000, over 100,000 some people in the average, I think, in certain instances. and in some states, obviously more. So for California, it's the first time that the state has lost a House seat. Illinois, as I mentioned before, Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, those numbers are more. There, it's a trend. The trend up there with how they're losing seats. It's it's just mainly, like I said, it's mainly just kind of. I think it's shining a bit of a light on the data needing to be updated a little more often, because what it does to, as we saw with the electoral college and how voting matters, and representatives and things of that nature, and how people decide which states they spend more time campaigning in and just trying to get votes and things of that nature, where I think it should be a little more personable and caring and things of that nature. But that's just me being, I guess, mushy or whatever, if you want to say that. So it would be cool if the census, I've always thought ever since I was little, like, man, why is it every 10 years that you count how many people it is? Like, it could be like, now it could be millions less from now, 5 years from now, and then 10 years when it actually is counted, we could have added or had lost another 10 from that, or added 10 million more from that. And I think that's a big deal, especially if they're all concentrated in a certain area. So it's just, everything's changing ever so rapidly now, that I think that needs to change along with it. Coach's opinion. Coach D's opinion. All right, so for the fourth and final quarter, I wanted to do play some D's first official music review, and it'll be for DJ Khaled's 12th studio album, which is pretty incredible. I want to call DJ Khaled more of an act. Most people call him a hip hop producer or DJ. I think he's just an act that does a good job of what relationships, and he's able to put music together that I totally appreciate. He puts music together that with artists that I like. This one's full of big names. This is from his label We're the Best, Rock Nation, and Epic Records. Its singles were Pop Star and Grease last year in July. They're both Drake songs. Grease isn't really a good song. It's got a good like sound and melody and things of that nature, but it's, from Drake terms, it's not a it's like a, I don't even know what you call it, like a soundtrack maybe, or something like a soundtrack song or a background song, background music, something like that. And then Pop Star is essentially what the song says it is. It's about being a pop star. And then the album starts off with Lil Wayne and Jeremiah, which is essentially a pretty skippable song, but it sets the tone, I think, for the album, because this is I think a more joyful album than you probably traditionally get from Khaled, and I think he did that on purpose, especially with the year that most people had, and they probably just wanted to hear something a little more brighter, I guess you can say. But the second song, Every Chance I Get, with Lil Baby and Lil Durk, is a solid song. Big Pepper with Cardi B, it's cool. I think it seems a little off to me. We Going Crazy and I Did It are going to be the two singles on here, which makes sense. Only thing, We're Going Crazy is her and Migos, and then I Did It has Post Malone. Killing the Chorus is so well done. I think he is clearly the highlight of this song. Lil Baby and DaBaby had the opportunity to, they're one of the premier young artists in the game, and the letdown for me was that they did not attack either of their verses, not necessarily to go at each other, but just to say they have similar names and they came in around the same time, and a lot of people talk about who's better. and neither of them did anything on their verses to change that. But to be fair, Khaled made a song that isn't conducive, I believe is the word, to for them to rap on. This is a light song, I guess you can say. So that's, you know, that's that. Let It Go with Justin Bieber and 21 Savage. Body in Motion. Oh Baby's on here 3 times. Those songs is Let It Go, Body in Motion, Pop Star. This Is My Year with A Boogie, Big Sean, Ross, and P. Diddy has some vocals on here. The song is okay. And then the highlight song that everybody, you know, obviously had asterisk starred and were ready to listen to was the Sorry Not Sorry with Jay-Z and Nas. This is a song that you expected to be probably the best song. And I do think it is one of the better songs. It has James Fauntleroy, I think that's how you say his name. He always does a good job with the soulful sound and things of that nature. Beyonce does have one of, I think, the better cameos in here. It's a really good pointed spot she comes in on, but I do think it deteriorates Jay-Z's verse because he doesn't really rap but a few bars really on here. Most of it is just Jay talking talk. Nas raps a bit, but it's a little bit all over the place. But the song overall, I think it's solid. I think this, I Did It, and I Can Have It All are the 3 best songs on here. I Can Have It All is number 12, but before I get number 12, 11 was Just Be with Justin Timberlake, which is another, just a nice, once again, the word that comes to mind is light, uplifting, happy, enjoyable song. And then I Can Have It All is Bryson Tiller starting it off, and then her and Meek Mill have the verses, and I think they have the best 2 verses on here, with Meek having the best verse and hers being second, respectively, which is really surprising. Like I said, when you have an album with Big Sean, Rick Ross, Jay-Z, Nas, you know, Lil Baby, The Baby, and you say, oh, Meek Mill and hers had the best album. Once again, opinionated. That's what I think. I think they had the most passion. I think they stayed on topic, and it rolled with the beat. Once again, the beat was made for them to do well on as well. I think that's always a key. You know, on anything, it all kind of has to mesh for it all to make sense. I mean, you can rap a cappella and have a great verse, which is true, but when you make a good song, it sounds better. I think it always sounds better with the beat. But I think those are the 3 best songs, and then Grease with Drake, 13, and then closing it out with Where I Came From. It's like a reggaeton with Bougie Bonton, Capleton, Bonnie Killer, and Barrington Levy, and it's actually a really good song with really dope beat. And I like how Khaled gives that genre its due and put something on there, because he's cool with all those guys too, and gives people that, you know, it's a kind of different look. The producers on here is always interesting too, because not only does he get the artists, he does get great producers. You got Cool and Dre, the Street Runners did a lot. Tay Keith did a lot. Ninth Wonders here. You know, it's just, you know, some of the big hitters. So I do overall think this is a really good album. I gave it a few runs actually, listening to a few songs over again, and I enjoyed it more than some of his others. Now, my biggest gripe with it is just the lack of gym music. So normally I always look forward to Khaled's album because it gives me something. Selfishly, it's just me on you know, D's end, just like, man, give me something that bangs in the gym. And there's not much here. It's a little something, probably something that maybe can get you through some cardio, but really to get you through some big lifts or something motivation. Maybe some songs that get you going to start the workout or close it out. But really, there's not much in here that provides you some oomph during a nice big hefty set. But either way, I think it's very appropriate for the time. Album cover is nice. It's a good album, more than I expected. But I always say it's hard to miss when you have Lil Wayne, the Baby, Cardi B, Migos, Post Malone, 21 Savage, the Baby, Rick Ross, Big Sean, Jay-Z, Nas. When you have the talent like that on the album, I think your job, if you're point guarding it, to make sure you put them in the best spots to succeed and you make a good album, because you shouldn't miss when you have guys like this on your album. So didn't miss here. Nothing spectacular, but definitely a good and enjoyable listen. So that's fourth quarter. That's Play Some D, episode 12. It was something I probably could have. It's so funny. I think I might have mentioned in the last episode is that the NFL draft talk. I mean, I essentially cut myself short on it purposely this week and last week as well. I mean, I could talk about that stuff all day. It's just so much. It is so much content. There's so much information there, and you could dive into so many different things. But really, at the end of the day, I'm from Cleveland, but it was nice seeing the Browns dissect and get guys. You're like, they should get him. He fits what we're trying to do, and what they're trying to do, and get that guy. So that was cool. Seeing where, once again, Ohio State fan as well. Seeing where Justin Fields went was interesting. Seeing how that, what the 49ers did, and then with the whole Aaron Rodgers situation, it spices things up a little bit. So it'll be interesting, and I imagine I'll probably have one of these quarters here talking about Aaron Rodgers at some point, because that GM's talking about, we're not trading him, but you kind of have to. He's 37 years old, and you really don't want him to retire on you, especially when he's got talent. You can get some value back for him. You got a Super Bowl out of him. You probably really you missed the window last year with getting that Super Bowl, the second one for him, another one for Green Bay. So now you just gotta minimize them losses and stop being stubborn. So that'll probably be a topic at some point. The census and the census and Bruce's Beach was just two things that just during the whole census process, Trump and that administration, they had things they were trying to make census, the count and things of that nature happen, and just during the whole process, census has been on my mind, and thinking about how it relates. I think it's a bigger deal than some people make it out to be. Bruce's Beach, once again, was just a feel good story that I just been hearing about, tidbits and listening to different things about it. So just to know it's moving forward with the right thing happening is just so awesome. And then, like I said, as I just finished up the fourth quarter with Khaled Khaled's album that you should listen to if that's your genre, or you want a nice listen. So yeah, once again, as well, please like, subscribe, turn on your post notifications, all that good, lovely stuff. And yeah, this is the 12th installment. So until next time, Coach D, Holla.